This meeting is now being recorded.
Get back.
You're fine.
Oh, you're okay. I can get selling here.
Mhm.
Thank you. You're welcome. Andy, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Chairman Hilton.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's 10 o'clock. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the monthly meeting of the Louisville Metro Air Pollution Control Board. I ask for your patience as we get everyone in place and ready to begin. I will call the meeting to order in a few minutes. Thank you. Andy, are we all set to start the meeting?
Yes, we are, Chairman Hilton.
Thank you very much. I will now call the regular meeting of the Louisville Metro Air Pollution Control Board to order. Due to the COVID-19 outbreak, we are conducting the monthly board meeting today by video teleconference. The first thing we have on the agenda this morning is the recognition of a quorum. I will conduct a roll call of board members that are present on this teleconference, when I call your name, please say yes. Steve Sullivan,
Yes.
thank you. Dr. Colbert? I think I saw him. Yes, okay. Dr. May? I think she's on vacation. And Candace White?
Yes.
Thank you. And Marissa Neal?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Hamilton, do we have any introductions this morning?
Yes, Chairman Hilton, we do. I am very pleased to introduce Cameron Barnett, who is a new Engineer 1 in the district's permitting program, and Jessie Ann Carpentier, a new Quality Assurance Coordinator in our air monitoring program.
Thank you. Congratulations to the new hires. Thank you. Do we have any public recognitions this morning, Ms. Hamilton?
No, sir, we don't.
Okay. We at the approval of the minutes of the minutes of the regular meeting held on December the 15th, 2021 were distributed electronically for your review. Are there any changes to the minutes by board members?
Not for me.
Hearing none, the minutes of the December 15th meeting have been adopted. Thank you very much. Ms. Scurry, has anyone registered to make a comment this morning? Mr. Gary?
Chairman Hilton, Mr. Gary may be assisting some of our guests who actually registered to speak this morning, and we've gotten them secured in conference room B, and I hope prepared to make a comment with respect to prescribed burning. Andy, if you could elevate the folks in conference room B.
Right.
So I see Andy has promoted Byron. Things may just be taking
Okay.
a little longer than normal this morning.
Conference room B has been unmuted, so they should be able to speak.
Very good.
Are we ready?
We're ready.
Ready.
Thank you very much.
Okay, my name is Michael Sherman, and I'm with Cliff Hall, Rick Caldwell, and Anthony Scooby, and we are prescribed fire practitioners, and we have some projects in here coming up in Jefferson County. And we'd like to make sure that when we do these burns, that we're in compliance, and we want to make sure we're knowledgeable of your rules and regulations. We would like to look at the application process. We looked at the agricultural burn process, and as well as if it's possible that we create a prescribed fire application specifically with the information pertaining to prescribed fires to reduce paperwork, but then also give us proper record keeping. One of the big things that we saw on the agricultural burn, it talks about the dates available to burn or dates expected to burn. With prescribed fire, it's all weather dependent. So we want to make sure that if the board would consider having like a 6-month or a 1-year variance or permit process to allow to be able to facilitate these burns when the weather is conducive. We also are looking at smoke management tools to be able to mitigate or to reduce the smoke management impact with this program. Is that 2 minutes?
So yeah, my name's Cliff, and I think that's pretty much, Mike covered it pretty well, but we just came today to kind of open the conversation and talk to you guys about our needs as prescribed fire practitioners, and just increasing those dates is the biggest thing, one of the biggest obstacles to us. So thank you for your time.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike and Cliff, for your presentation, and I look forward to coming back anytime you want to share information with the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Gary, has anyone provided written comments this morning?
No, Chairman Hilton. Sorry about the trouble earlier.
Are there any other members of the public that wish to make a brief comment on this teleconference? Please raise your hand via teleconference and you will be called on. This is a feature you can find on the participant list or by pressing *3 if joined by phone, and you will be called upon. Mr. Purdon, you recognize anybody that would like to speak?
I see no raised hands at the moment, Chairman Hilton.
Thank you very much. That completes the public comment portion of the meeting. Moving on to unfinished business. There is no unfinished business today. New business. There is no new business. Committee reports. No committees met in the last month. And we're down to the staff report. Mrs. Hampton, we're at the director report, and you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman Hilton. And I really appreciate that our guests came this morning to share their upcoming prescribed burn with us, and also to let us know that they had some issues with respect to the regulation. We'll follow up with them, and then we'll come back to the board and let you all know how we followed up on that and if there are any recommended changes to that regulatory program. That's APCD Regulation 1.11. So with that, I want to let folks know that with JCPS's return to non-traditional instruction on January the 11th, the district has currently reduced the number of employees present in the office through January 21st. This means that more of our staff are teleworking than previously, but our monitoring and our compliance staff continue their work in the field, and our office remains open. If you choose to visit our office, we ask that you please practice social distancing and remain masked and stay at least 6 feet away from employees and others in the building. I am not sharing anything that we're not all aware of, but COVID continues to be a challenge. So please continue to review the agenda each month for instructions on how to attend and participate in the Air Pollution Control Board's upcoming meetings. Please get vaccinated, get a flu shot, get your booster shot if you are eligible, and continue wearing a mask and socially distancing as recommended. Our colleagues at Louisville Public Health and Wellness have a hotline at 502-912-8598, where you can find more information about vaccinations, testing sites, and even things such as safe housing and essential needs for people who may be quarantining. Back to APCD work. On December 21st, MSD submitted its 2021 Catch Basin Annual Report and Interim Report as required by the board's agreed order. I've shared these with you in an email late last year. These reports have also been posted to MSD's website at louisvillemsd.org/odor. Briefly, in its catch basin report, MSD reports that it has inspected each catch basin, identified several missed catch basins, and assessed the condition of the catch basins present in the Park Duval neighborhood. As part of that work, they also determined whether the catch basin was trapped or untrapped, and they used a consultant to do that work. You may recall that at the time we signed the agreed board order with MSD, they had identified 197 catch basins in the Park Duval neighborhood, 109 of which were untrapped. Since then, its consultant has located a total of 239 catch basins, with a total of 123 of those being untrapped within the Park Duval neighborhood. Even with these additional catch basins being identified, MSD reports that its consultant is developing a prioritized plan based on location and severity of the repair necessary for MSD to complete the work in the Park Duval neighborhood by the first quarter of 2022. This is important work because it will help reduce odors within the Park Duval neighborhood. The interim final report was developed to document the initial phases of the phased odor control master plan required by the board's agreement, with primary focus on the Morris Foreman Water Quality Treatment Plant and the neighborhoods in and around that facility. An updated version of the report will be submitted to the board during the fourth quarter of 2022 per the board's amended agreed board order, following the completion of ongoing odor control improvements at the Morris Foreman Water Quality Plant and the second phase of MSD's planned sampling program. As noted in the interim report, the main objectives here are to identify specific odor sources at Morris Foreman that may contribute to nuisance conditions, conduct liquid and vapor sampling at critical process areas, characterize and evaluate the performance for existing odor control systems and odor control technologies, investigate potential odor control solutions and treatment technologies required to meet the overall design criteria established by MSD, and developed an updated implementation schedule for the completion of phase 1 of the odor control master plan. I don't know if you've had an opportunity yet to review the technical memoranda that are the basis for the interim report that MSD has prepared, but they are quite interesting in terms of MSD's assessment of its system and where they are finding that they have high levels of hydrogen sulfide or other compounds that are contributing to odors in the neighborhood. So I want to thank the board for their leadership in approving this agreed board order, because it's been very helpful, I think, for MSD to do this work. MSD has also conducted its second public meeting, and that was around the community near its Hikes Creek wastewater treatment plant. Members of the district staff attended that meeting, and it was well attended. But I think most important is that MSD is also conducting a survey of the participants of its public meeting and really getting a sense of hearing from the community that's most affected by the odors from their operations. I will share those surveys with the board as we receive them. And if you have any questions as you review them, please let me know. To date, MSD has conducted phase 1 vapor sampling through the Morris Foreman Water Quality Treatment Plant and also assessed the odor conditions at critical manholes and catch basins in the Park Duval, Chickasaw, and Shawnee neighborhoods. And as you all will remember, these are the communities that are most affected by the complaints the district received in the summer of 2019. We also see a lot of complaints from this area due to that combined stormwater system because of the age of the system and its construction. As MSD completes its work, we hope to hear more from the neighbors in these areas and be sure that they are seeing the relief that's expected from the board's work. A final compilation of sampling results will be used to identify and evaluate odor control improvements. And again, that'll take place sometime next year. And it's just critically important that the community understand how odors may be controlled and that MSD is there to help prioritize their concerns. Are there any questions about MSD's work?
I don't have any. Any board members have any questions around MSD work?
Very good. Okay. So we've talked about Quorum's emissions of HFC 23 several times in the past year. And I'm going to talk about it again this morning. But I wanted to give just a brief bit of background to bring everyone up to speed this morning. On October 5th of 2021, US EPA finalized the phase down of hydrocarbons, establishing the allowance allocation and trading program under the American Innovation and Manufacturing Act, or AIM, which directs US EPA to phase down production and consumption of hydrofluorocarbons, or HFCs, in the United States by 85% over the next 15 years. It's important that we reduce these HFCs. These hydrofluorocarbons are very potent greenhouse gases. A global HFC phase down is expected to avoid a 0.5 degrees Celsius increase of global warming by 2100. EPA's final rule also requires that beginning on October 1st, 2022, as compared with the amount of chemical intentionally produced on a facility's line, no more than 0.1% of that HFC 23 may be emitted. Locally, emissions of HFC 23 from Chemours will be captured and shipped off-site to their Washington works in West Virginia for destruction. EPA's implementation of the phase-down rule is a very important step in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. As a brief update, here are some other important steps too. On December 20th of last year, EPA finalized federal greenhouse gas emission standards for passenger cars and light trucks for model years 2023 through model year 2026. These final standards are estimated to result in more than 3 billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions avoided through 2050 and more than 190 in net benefit, more than 190 million in net benefits to the public by reducing climate pollution, improving public health, and actually saving drivers money at the pump. You may also recall that EPA regulates greenhouse gas emissions from power plants under Section 111 of the Clean Air Act. This includes regulations for the district as well. This allows EPA and states greater flexibility in crafting and implementing a standard to regulate greenhouse gases. The constitutionality of this regulatory program has been challenged in a case now known as West Virginia versus Environmental Protection Agency. That case has now made its way to the Supreme Court, where oral arguments will be held next month, with a final decision on it expected later this term. We will keep the board informed on this and additional greenhouse gas regulations for stationary sources that we expect to see over the next several years. But back to the district's proposed permit for Chemours HFC reductions to meet EPA's HFC phase-down rule. On November 14th, 2021, the district proposed a construction permit to permit certain equipment necessary for Chemours to comply with EPA's phase-down rule. At that time, we opened a public comment period, and we subsequently extended it to January 18th, last night, and we held a public meeting on January 11th of 2022. So last Tuesday, the 11th, the district held a very well-attended public meeting on the proposed construction permit for Chemours HFC reduction project. There were over 45 participants in attendance, including members of the community and neighbors of the facility, environmental advocates, and the district's own staff. There were also representatives from the Louisville Climate Action Network. During the meeting, district staff provided information about the proposed permit and answered questions. The company also responded to questions from those in attendance. The public comment period did end last night. We received 68 public comments, and we are tremendously appreciative of those who took the time to review the permit and to let us know their concerns. I want to be sure that everyone understands the roles that EPA and the district have with respect to Comores project and their compliance with the HFC phase down rule, as well as the next steps for the district in issuing the proposed permit. Generally speaking, the Federal Clean Air Act is implemented through, making quotes here, cooperative federalism, where EPA sets a standard and state, local, and tribal air pollution control agencies, including the district, develop policies, programs, rules, and regulations for an area to meet that standard. The National Ambient Air Quality Standards, or the NAAQS, are a good example of the cooperative federalism. EPA periodically reviews those national ambient air quality standards, and they strengthen them. We then go through work like the multi-pollutant stakeholder group work that we did in 2020. And then we develop programs, policies, and rules. We implement those. We bring the area into attainment. Our state implementation plan, or our SIP, is where you see those rules expressed. Once the board has adopted them, they go into that state implementation plan, and that's our roadmap for bringing the area into attainment. Our construction permitting program is one example of the types of rules and regulations in our SIP that help us meet the National Ambient Air Quality Standards. In addition to the rules and regulations that we make, and we put those in our state implementation plan, there are also certain programs that are delegated to us from US EPA. And that would include the Risk Management Program and our Title V permitting program that we implement and enforce. In addition to that, there are also certain rules, such as the New Source Performance Standards, or NSPSs, and the National Emission Standards for Hazardous Air Pollutants, or NESHAPs, that are delegated to. These rules and programs are incorporated into the district's regulations. Rule 502 and 702 are the place where we incorporate those NSPSs and NESHAPs into our program. And we periodically update that. In fact, we were planning this morning to update Regulation 1.15, where we incorporate the most current version of the Code of Federal Regulations, where these rules are held at the federal level, into our regulations. Unfortunately, we had a little hiccup with our publication with the Courier-Journal, so we'll be doing that next month. But that's an important part of building our program. Those are delegated to us to enforce and implement. So to kind of summarize it here, EPA can transfer primary implementation and enforcement authority for most of the federal standards to state, local, and tribal programs by delegation. Once delegated, we have to pull those into our program. The board is our regulatory authority, and you all approve those. And then we stand in the shoes of EPA. Sources send reports and other information directly to us. We're the primary authority for them. We have the discretion to make certain source-specific decisions that allow flexibility that's provided by those rules. But that's not in all cases. EPA does not delegate authority to make decisions that are likely to be nationally significant or alter the underlying stringency of a standard. We see this sometimes in a rule, for example, where EPA retains the sole authority to approve an alternate testing method in an NSPS or a NESHAP. Or here, where EPA has the sole authority for the implementation and enforcement of the HFC phase-down rule that requires Comores to reduce its emissions of HFC 23, and also in the ozone-depleting substances program that governs Comores' production of HCFC 22. And there is that national and fact, international significance of the requirement to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. They have a national strategy to accomplish that work. So EPA, not the district, is responsible for implementing and enforcing the phase-down rule. As part of that, we understand that Chemours will report its compliance with the phase-down rule to EPA, not the district, and we understand the concerns that we've heard from the community that it may be more difficult to confirm Chemours' compliance with the phase-down rule's requirements. In fact, you may remember that APCD raised this a similar concern, as well as others, in our comments to EPA during the public comment period for the proposed phase-down rule last summer. Despite our comments, EPA subsequently adopted the rule as proposed. In this case, the district is responsible for implementing and enforcing our SIP construction permitting program, and then incorporating the construction permit into the source's Title V or other operating permit. So here are the next steps for the district in making a final decision with respect to the proposed permit for certain equipment necessary for Chemours to comply with EPA's HFC phase-down rule. Okay. We received 68 public comments. We did not receive a request for a public hearing. We will begin reviewing those written comments. We've notified the company that we received those comments. They have 10 days after the close of the public comment period to submit a written response to any comments that we receive from the public. If they submit those, they will become part of the written record that the district is preparing. That written response to comments will be posted on our website and part of how we base our decision to move forward with the proposed permit. So we'll prepare a written response, a response to comment document. We'll make a final decision with respect to the proposed permit, including identifying any revisions taken in response to the comments that we've received. We'll send out a Gov delivery notice to folks that we've made that final decision and that the response to comment document and a permit decision has been posted to our recent actions webpage. Following that, once a decision is made, that decision can be appealed by the public or a source under the district's Regulation 1.19 administrative hearings. So, our permit engineers have already gotten together this morning, and they're beginning to tackle the review and preparing the responses necessary to make a final decision in this case. And again, I very much appreciate the public spending last Tuesday night with us. I appreciate the time they've taken to put their comments together for us. I'm also appreciative of Chemours' attendance at that meeting and being willing to answer questions directly from the public as part of that meeting. And I very much appreciate APCD's staff in being sure that they drafted a proposed permit in a thoughtful and professional way, and that they spent a great deal of time preparing for last Tuesday's meeting so that it could be as productive as possible. So with that, Chairman Hilton, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them now.
Are there any questions or comments from board members? If not, I have two. You said you received 68 public comments.
That's
Are you
correct.
going to forward those to the facility? Those
They have
comments?
already been forwarded to the facility this morning.
Is it possible you could share those with the board members, the comments? Or is that appropriate?
When we prepare our response to comment document, the comments will be provided in their entirety, and then the district's response will be shared below that. So I'm happy to share those with the board at this point, or if you would prefer, they will be provided when we prepare that response to comment document along with the district's response.
Are there any comments from board members? Would you like to see the comments, the public comments, the 68 public comments?
Well, if it's not too difficult to send out.
When is the response going to be available?
I'm sorry, gentlemen, I didn't catch that.
I was asking when the response to the comments is going to be available. When are you going to make that available to us and to the public?
It'll be made available at the time we make that final decision. I'd like to give you a time frame for when we'll have that. My expectation is it'll be sometime in the next couple of weeks, depending on staffing. It's a bit challenging these days in terms of being sure that we have everyone here every day, and then also how complex the request may be. I haven't seen many of the comments. Sometimes they range as simple as, I disagree with the permit here. In this case, we have received some that are a bit technical, and we really appreciate that. And so it will take us some time to prepare an answer to those more technical questions.
Well, you know, whatever is easy for the staff, really. But I guess I think we will see the 68 public comments. I just have one other quick question. I think HCFC 22 is on the Our Toxic summer report. Is that report posted on your website? Because I think 22 is part of the Our Toxic report, isn't it?
So it is not an air toxics under the district's strategic toxic air reduction program, and it's not a hazardous air pollutant. That's a HAP. It is reported to TRI, to the Toxics Release Inventory. And the reason that it's reported there are 3 different ways that you can be required to report under the Toxics Release Inventory. HFC 23 is reported under the Greenhouse Gas Inventory. HCFC 22 is reported under the Toxics Release Inventory because of its ozone layer depleting intensity. So it eats a hole in the ozone layer. It's reported to TRI because of that environmental damaging potential, not because it's a toxic air contaminant or a hazardous air pollutant.
Okay, so the 2021 property has not been finalized, right? It has not been finalized to include HCFC 22 on that report yet.
There's usually a bit of a delay with respect to the Toxics Release Inventory. There is a first quarter back calendar year reporting requirement, if I'm recalling correctly. And then US EPA does some post-processing review of the information that it receives on an annual basis, and it publishes that new year's worth of TRI, Toxics Release Inventory data.
Okay.
Sometimes we see that around October.
Okay. Okay, good. Any other questions from board members? Not, thank you, Ms. Hampton, for the excellent update on this project.
Thank you. And Chairman Hilton, if you will indulge, Matt Mudd, APCD's Communications Coordinator, has a brief presentation on the district's new Facebook page.
Oh, great.
Good morning, everyone. 1 second as I share my screen. Okay, is that working properly?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Good morning. Just a little quick update. at the beginning of this month, APCD joined Facebook. It's a part of our efforts to make our information, the work we do here, the air quality in Louisville, the things that, the other programs in the area that affect air quality here a little bit more shareable, visible, easy to access for the public. The basic, I'll scroll through it so you can kind of see a basic idea of what we're going to be sharing there. Here's the top of the page. It looks very similar to our Twitter page by design. We're just getting started, so you can see the amount of followers, likes, things like that. One of the main things we post is something like a daily air quality forecast. Based off of the air quality index, we can tell them whether or not it will be good, moderate, and on some occasions unhealthy for sensitive groups. Things like notices that this meeting's going to happen, so hopefully we'll be able to spread the news about that a little bit more. We'll also want to share behind the scenes stuff kind of on like the work that we do, how our air monitoring stations work, how the permitting process works, things to hopefully help the public get a better idea of some of the complicated stuff that we do that can be tough to understand, or even if they're not tough to understand, the public hasn't had anyone explain it to them in a way that makes it make sense to them. One of the main reasons that we wanted to have this is because we know that community groups, people in Louisville are often sharing things through Facebook groups that are based around climate stuff, pollution, things like that. It's often shared there. So one of our best examples of that is the public meeting that we had last Tuesday that Rachel just got done talking about. We made a post basically about what to expect at the public meeting, the fact that it was happening, and we gave people the link to share on Facebook, and we saw a lot of sharing to environmental groups, local community action groups, letting people know that the meeting was going to happen. So this was exact proof of concept for what we wanted for the page. People were sharing it, so we saw a lot of names that popped up on the post pop into the meeting, and while they may have gone anyway, I'll take that as an early success anyway. So we're already starting to see some results, but just wanted to let you know that we're there. You can find it. Just go to Facebook, search Louisville Metro Air Pollution Control District. You can find the link on our website. We look forward to growing our content there and hopefully growing our following there. We're looking to have a presentation on the district's social media presence on the whole later in the season. I don't know the exact date on that yet, but hopefully we'll get you more detail on some of our efforts here at that point. And in the meantime, always appreciate any and all follows and interactions with any of our social media pages. You can follow us on Facebook now, like here, Twitter. You can follow the CARE program on Facebook and Twitter as well, and Grow More, Mow Less. One of our lawn care programs has a Facebook page that's very active as well. So appreciate your time, and thank you.
Very good. Are there any questions from board members regarding the, when was this launched?
This was launched just after the first of the year.
Okay. Well, you have links to certain reports and like the air toxic report and TRI report. So you have some links that a person, once they get in there, they can access other reports that pertain to the APCD.
Yes. Well, when the reports are made available for board meetings like these, we'll let people know that they're available. If there's more interest in them beyond that, we can post the exact report on Facebook, the link straight to it. So we'll definitely do that if that's a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from board members? If not, thank you very much. Looking forward to that Facebook page. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Mrs. Hampton, do we have anything else that you need to report this morning?
That concludes my report this morning. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is our quality data report. Are there any questions from board members on the PM 2.5 report? Ozone, air monitoring for sulfur dioxide. Any questions or comments on that report? Enforcement status report. Any questions on that report? Access emission report. That report is getting smaller. I think we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items on there. That's great. On the excess emission report. Any questions on that report? The next one is the complaint investigation status report. I have no questions on that. The lawn care, very interesting report on the lawn care report. Did a good job of summarizing everything for 2021 for the annual report. That's a very good report. Did an excellent job of summarizing everything that took place during the year 2021. Are there any questions or comments from board members regarding any of these reports?
It's a question on the SO2 data. Obviously nothing, there's no exceedances. Is that historically true?
SO2?
Mr. Sullivan, this is Byron.
Yeah.
We previously had a non-attainment area surrounding the Mill Creek LG&E facility in southwestern Jefferson County. However, after the installation of additional controls, that area was redesignated, I believe, in 2019, and we have not seen any issues since then. And I think Rachel might have something to add to that. Sorry for jumping in, Rachel.
No problem. To back it up just a little bit, prior to our area being designated as non-attainment, EPA revised the standard in 2010, and that standard became 75 parts per billion. It's dropped off of our air quality report, but prior to LG&E's additional installation of controls at Mill Creek and conversion of Cane Run, our design value at the Watson Lane monitor was 149 parts per billion. So we've seen a tremendous reduction in SO2 as a direct pollutant, which also has a secondary benefit because it forms particulate matter as it cools. We've also seen a reduction in particulate matter. And again, that is a significant reduction overall.
It is quite astounding how low the numbers are compared to 75.
Yes, that's interesting, yeah. Any other questions regarding the air quality data reports? Hearing none, I will now adjourn this regular meeting of the board and thank you all for your participation. The next board meeting is Wednesday, February the 16th at 10 a.m. Thank you and have a good and safe day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, everyone.